Activity number 3. Each year, Oscars are awarded to the best actresses and best actor. Below are the ages of those award recipients at the time of the award ceremony. The question we want to consider is this. Are there major differences between the ages of the best actress and the best actors? Off the top of your head, what do you think? Are there major differences between best actor and best actress ages? Males, females. Is there a difference in age in Hollywood? Okay, that's not a surprise. All right. Apart from being interesting, this issue is important because it potentially gives us some insight into the way our society perceives men and women in general. So let's look at them. These are the actual ages of Best Actress and Best Actor when they won their awards for a variety of years. I don't know where this stops. So this is where it started and where it stops. So it's not, up to date. But so the very first Best Actress award went to a 22-year-old female, then a 37-year-old, then a 28-year-old, right? So that's what this data means. And then the very first Best Actor award went to a 24-year-old, a 44-year-old, then a 41-year-old, right? So just by looking at this, does it seem like the actors are different, a little older compared to the women? Are there any like low 20s males that got Best Actor? Is Johnny Depp on there? The youngest one I spot off the top of my head. Do you guys see anything younger than 29 for the males? I don't think so, huh? What about the women? Is the 22-year-old the youngest one? Nope, there's a 21-year-old over here. Anything younger than 21? What about older? What's the oldest one female we see? Oh, there's an 80-year-old female here. Anything older than 80? Anyone older, not anything older, sorry. Anyone older than 80 or what is the oldest male actor? 76 is the oldest? Okay, so our task is to present this information with a histogram breakdown, right? So we're going to create these bins so that we can put all these values into them and do a frequency count for them. So the first question is, how do we choose how many bins to select and how big to make each bin? So this is a little science, a little art. There isn't an exact number. There isn't an exact, precise way of doing this and showing the best result. But there are some general guidelines. So for starters, we don't want too few bins. I'll show you in a little bit with our calculator what happens when you choose too few bins, because then too much data goes into each bin, and then you aren't really able to see any patterns. And also, if we choose too many of them, then too few data points go into each one of them, and then again, we don't get to see any patterns. So there's some sort of happy medium of choosing the right number of classes for our data. Somewhere between 5 and 10 seems to be a good rule of thumb, depending on how many data points you have. The more data points you have, the more number of bins you need, and the fewer data points, the less bins you need. Also, once you choose how many different classes to have, then you got to choose how wide to make each one. And again, it's just sort of just a guideline here that we can follow. So here we are instructed to select 6, right? Let's select 6 as the number of desired classes. Like I said, there's no scientific reason for why they picked 6. They said, hey, let's just try 6. 5 is too few, 10 was too many, let's just try 6. If it turns out that our data doesn't look right, doesn't look pretty, then we might want to come back and adjust things. So we just chose 6, so that means there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 classes here. Now we got to choose the boundaries for each class. To do that, again, a sort of a guideline is to find the biggest number, the max value, which was 80, and the minimum value. Now this is a little mistake, you can correct it. I think we found 21, didn't we? Yeah. So let's correct that and say that there's 21 is the minimum value for the actresses. So hence the range is, well, how do we find the range? We subtract them. So 80 minus 21 is actually 59. So let's correct that again. So the range is 59. We're going to range through 59 values. And this helps us determine how big we should make our widths. So if we take this and we divide it by the 6 classes that we had selected, we get 59 divided by 6 is 9.8, right? Okay, so really close to a whole number. Now, we're talking about how wide to make each one of these. So, since it was 9.8, a common thing people will choose is to make it 10. Right? It's close to 10 anyway. It's really, we can round it to 10. So people choose to make it 10. And so we can start by we have to pick a place to start. Now, remember, this is where all our ages are going to fall into. So we just got to make sure that we pick a number small enough to where the youngest actress can fall into that bin. So if I had started at 25, for instance, we'd have a problem because there's somebody that wouldn't fall into the smallest box. So we got to pick one, but it doesn't have to be, it has to be something that's a nice, round, pretty number or a convenient place to begin. So a nice, convenient place is 20 because there was nobody in their teens, right? If there was an actress who got her award at 18 or 17, then this would also be a problem because, we wouldn't have a place to put that value in. Okay, so 20 is a nice, round, convenient place to start. No scientific reason for why that has to be it. It's just a nice, convenient place to begin. And we chose the width to be 10. So we're going to go from there to there to make that 10. What should the next one be? Okay, so let's make this from 31 to 41. Okay, and then the next one would be 42 to 52. Okay, and then the next one will be from 53 to 63. Then the next one would be 64 to 75, 74, and then finally the last one is 75 to 85. Okay, so a couple of things that are off about this. One, the class width is determined by the difference between two consecutive classes. So it's not that this should have been 10, it's that this should have been 10. Good? Make sense? And you can see why. Doesn't it look messy? Like the numbers look busy from... Aha, yeah, it just looks better, right? So I did this to show you why they made that choice because, we're going to do a bunch of things that are wrong, so don't worry about copying it yet. This is not right, what I just wrote down. I'm just showing you why we've made a choice. This isn't a scientific reason for why we've made this choice. Doesn't it just look ugly? It looks ugly, doesn't it? The boxes are just going all over the place. They end in weird numbers. They're just ugly. So for that reason, we've chosen the class width to be defined as the difference between two consecutive classes. So we want this to be 10. Let's make that there. And since that's going to there, then this would go to 40. Isn't it looking better already? It looks prettier this way, doesn't it?
80 is the highest.
Okay, well then we have another problem. But okay, so we make this choice there, which would mean that this is going to be 39, and then this is going to be 49. We'll fix one thing at a time. We'll fix the other thing in a second. But doesn't this already look nicer? And what would this last one be then?
Why is the first one all the way
Oh, sorry, that was a mistake. 29.
Okay.
And then what would the last one be? There you go. Doesn't that look prettier already? It's nicer, neater, right? It's just it's an artistic reason, not a scientific one. It just looks nicer. Okay, but we run into another problem that somebody pointed out. The way I've created it, we have an issue because the 80, I have an 80-year-old, and an 80 doesn't fall anywhere since the very last one ends at 79. So how do we fix that? There's a couple of ways to fix that. Can anybody think of one way to fix it? Well, okay, yeah, we could throw in some decimals here, point 21.5 or something. We could start at a slightly higher number, right? And that makes it okay in this particular case because there are no 20-year-olds, right? So, like I said, it's a little artistic. So this isn't a scientific reason why. But one great way to fix this is say, let's just start off where the youngest person is, which is 21. And if we did that, then that would change all of these guys to that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And then it changes all of these people to, let's make this 30, and then 40, and then 50, then 60, then 70, finally 80. So there's one great way. We fixed it. It looks pretty, right? All the data points fall into each one of these bins. We've accounted for everybody. So this is a nice choice. It's not the only choice. It's just one nice choice. And so the way we fixed it was to start off at 21. We were afforded that because we know that there are no 21-year-olds. But what would have been another fix instead? We could have also maybe increased by a slightly larger number other than 10. So if we maybe increased by 11s, then we would have ended up capturing the 80 at the end. But, we're going to end up with some uglier numbers. This is a nice, pretty distribution, right? So I think this is probably the best choice we could have made. Okay, so now that we've made choices about our classes, now that we did that, now we actually have to count things. That's where it can get a little annoying. We have to count how many of the actresses fall between the ages of 28, 21, and 30 inclusive, right? That's the class. So we got to come up here and count them. Let's see, there's 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So this is going to take a while, right? So we need a slightly better way of doing this. What would be one great way of simplifying our life if we had to do this by hand? If I said this is exam number 1, question 1, just do it all by hand. What would be a great tool for organizing this information and being able to figure out how many actresses fall within each age group? Stem and leaf, right? Didn't the stem and leaf display do a pretty good job of helping us organize them all and then quickly counting how many were in their 20s, how many were in their 30s? Okay, so that would work. Also, since we have a calculator, why not input all these data points into one big list, and then we're going to have the calculator organize them in sequential order. So that'll make it easier for us to count, the different age groups. So to do that, let's get our calculators out. Okay, so get your TI-84 calculator out, turn it on. I know many of you guys have never used one before, so just hit the on button, which is down here, right over here, on. Why doesn't everybody have their calculators out? Okay, all right. You turn it on, then you might be in a weird screen like I am. It's just remembering where it was the last time somebody turned it off. So regardless of where you start, let's start off by getting back to the main screen. You do that by quitting wherever you are. Now this is ancient technology. Back before they had touch screens, they had buttons. And one of the things that they did, the high technology of its day, was that a button could do more than one thing if you write down some writing in different color right beside it, and then you have these buttons over here. So if you select second, you see this arrow up here. That's letting you know that you are now on. Okay, let me make this bigger. That's letting you know that you're now dealing with second. So now when you hit a button, what you're really selecting is the blue part of it. Okay, so right now second is activated. So if I hit 8, I'm not really going to be hitting 8. I'm going to be hitting V. And if I hit this caret symbol, I'm really going to be getting pi, right? So what I want is quit. So I hit second, and now I'm going to hit this button, and it's really going to say quit. So it quits whatever screen you're on, and it takes you back to the main screen. And then you can hit clear, whatever is on there, to erase it all, and it'll get you to the main screen. I'll take questions in a little bit. It'll get you to the main screen and get you ready to go anywhere you want to go. Okay, the first thing you might want to do on your calculator is go to mode now, just so that we're all on the same selection. So make sure your calculator is under normal, float. This doesn't really matter for us, but radians, functions, everything flat to the left is good. Now, how do you select something else? You use these arrows to select something else, and then enter. So if I wanted my calculator to be in engineering mode, I can select that and select that, and so it'll be in engineering mode. Everything is in scientific notation, I think. And then over here, we can go back to normal. Okay, so make sure everything's flush to the left. All right, so so once you're done with this, then you want to quit again. So again, you hit second and quit to get back to the main screen. Good? Okay, so the first thing we want to work with is how to input a list of data points onto your calculator, and then we'll figure out how to sort them. So to do that, we're going to hit this button that says Stat, and you get this menu. With this menu, you can move around with these arrows, so you can go up, down, you can go to the right. Okay, but it just so happens that I want to go to the very first one. So under Edit, the very first one, you hit Enter. You get to this screen. This is a place where you can input data, lists of data. So L1 is list 1, list 2, list 3, and these are just a bunch of data points that were already there from somebody else that used them in the past. So I just want to go to list 1, so just go to your arrows, go to list 1. If you don't have a list 1, then that's okay. I'll show you how to fix that in a little bit. You can just go to any list. It doesn't matter. Just keep in mind of which one you're working with. Okay? So I'm going to go to list 1, and I want to erase all the other information. To erase things, you have two choices. Option 1 is to delete one at a time. So let me delete that 4. I'm going to hit this button that says delete right here. So delete, delete, delete. Okay? So you can just go one at a time and delete them. You don't have to go there. You can skip down to, like, let's say I just want to delete the 10. Delete. Okay. The other choice is for you to highlight, go up and make the L1 dark. Right? Highlight the L1 or whatever list you're on. And then you can hit clear, not delete, clear, and enter. And that will automatically erase everything underneath, which is a great, time saver if the list is really long. Like this one, for instance. Now, let's say I wanted to clear list 2. I can hit clear, enter, and then everything underneath it gets erased. Okay? So let's say I go over to L3 and I make that mistake of hitting delete. Then it just deletes the whole column. It's gone. That's why some of you guys are wondering, hey, I don't have L1 on my calculator. What's going on? Somebody deleted it. So let's fix that. To fix that, go back to Stat. And then if you go down to where it says Setup Editor, option number 5. Option number 5, hit enter one more time, it'll say done, and then it'll restore all the lists that might have been deleted in the past. So see, L3 is back on there. Okay, so we can just go through and clear, don't hit delete. When you're up in highlighting the list values, you hit clear and enter to delete the values underneath it. So here we have a clean slate for the first 3 lists. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go through my list of actors' ages and actresses' ages, and I want to input it in here. And unfortunately, there's no great shortcut for that. You're just going to have to type it in. So here is my best actresses. So I'm just going to type in 22, enter, 30. I'm going to go down the columns, enter, 35, enter, so on and so forth. And I'm just going to input all of them for the actresses. under one big long list. Okay, so one big ginormous long list has all the actresses under L1. And then for L2, I'm going to go over to the males, and I'm going to input all the males' ages. So I'm going to start off with 44, and 38, and 41, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, I'll have two ginormous long lists. One of them for the male actor's age, and one for the female actress's age. Okay, after you go through that long, painful process of inputting all the data, we get to a point where we have 76 values, I think, for the female actress ages, all on list 1, and 76 values of the results over here on list 2 for the males. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is sort them from the smallest to the largest, so we can use this as a faster way of counting how many of the women fall in certain age brackets and how many of the men fall in certain age brackets. So to sort them, we're going to hit stat. So first of all, keep track of which list you used. I used L1 and L2. So I'm going to go to stat, and then I'm going to go to sort A or sort D. Sort A is for ascending, from the smallest to the largest, ascending. And then descending is sort D, from the largest to the smallest, depending on what you want to do. So let's go with sort A for sort ascending. And then next you need to tell it which list you would want to do that to. So we hit second, and then right above the 1 you see L1. Second L1. Close parentheses, enter. Done. And now if we go back to the original list, we'll see that L1 is now in ascending order, right? 21, 22, 24, 24, 25, 25. So now it makes it easier for us to fill in our class and figure out the frequency. How many actresses, let's see, what did we decide was our choice here? Here we go. Well, let's go for this one here. So for the first one, we need to know how many actresses fall between the ages of 21 and 30. So now we can easily count that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, okay, 28?
Yeah.
Is that what we got? Okay. I stopped counting. Oh, okay, there should be one more 30, okay. There we go, 28, great. So, frequency here is 28. Good. And now 31 through 40, and again, it just makes it a little easier to count them this way. That's one small shortcut that the calculators can help us with. Of course, the calculators can also create the histograms themselves, so we'll see how to do that in a little bit. So continue counting, figure out the frequency for each one of these, then figure out the relative frequencies. And then you can begin by using that data, those table values, to draw your histogram down here. Once you fill out all those tables, you can come down here and draw the histogram.